Welcome back. It's Wrist Check Podcast, episode 43.
Woo!
I was out last week, but I'm back.
Mm-hmm.
We had Thanksgiving, and it low-key turned into a super spreader event. So I was out for the count for a few days, but appreciate you and Rashawn holding it down. This week, Rashawn is out.
Yep.
He's on vacation with his lovely lady, and we'll be back, I think, next week.
Yeah, I think he's only gone for a week.
Gone for a week.
We'll see
him back. Before we get into this, I guess allow me to introduce myself. My name is Perry.
No, I'm Ben.
And we are 2/3 of the Wrist Check Podcast. What are you wearing today?
I'm actually wearing Oris.
Okay.
I'm still wearing Danny's New York Harbor.
Nice. Ain't easy being green.
It's not easy being green. So I grabbed this watch.
Okay.
Almost as the second choice. My first choice, I slapped it on my wrist and my clasp was broken. I will not say what watch it was, but
oh no.
I was a little sad about it. I think it would have been the first time I wore it on the show, actually. So maybe it'll show up in another episode, but the New York Harbor is still going strong.
Okay.
Rubber strap, super cozy as always.
Love that.
Matches my pants.
Respect.
Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong. I'm wearing a new watch today.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think I know what it is.
So I'm wearing Rolex Day-Date. White gold.
Wow. Getting money.
This is reference 18239. I had to sell some things.
Yeah, I bet.
I sold some things, and shout out to our friends at Get Bezel for helping me source this. Get Bezel is an online retail platform for timepieces.
Yep.
And they can help source product. They actually house product. But what's unique about them is that they authenticate everything that passes through them before they get to the end user. And we're actually doing a promotion with them this month for the holidays. So go to getbezel.com, download the app. And if you use the discount code WristCheckPod, get $250 off your first purchase. That's
at least some tax if you get a watch.
Facts.
Or a strap. Tax or a strap, you pick.
Yeah. So no, I'm really happy with this. This is kind of a grail piece. I'm not gonna let everyone know what I sold, but I had to.
Well, now they're gonna have to figure it out every episode.
So maybe that'll be an episode.
You stop
figure out what Perry got rid of, and to get this piece here. But I'm really happy. I went 36 millimeter. I think that's the appropriate size. A Day-Date.
If you're gonna go Day-Date, it should be 36.
And yeah, so people,
look at that smile on your face. You can't stop smiling.
It feels nice.
That's good.
It feels nice. Shout out to getbezel.com.
You and Rashawn with the gold Rolexes. Gotta play catch up.
Hey, listen, this goes under the radar though. Looks like steel.
Facts.
Yeah, looks like steel. This is silent killer.
Mm-hmm.
But what's nice about this too is that it's the dial has like kind of patina.
Yeah, it looks like an eggshell white kind of color.
Yeah, it's like almost, it's kind of a strange color.
It almost looks champagne.
Almost champagne color.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little more brown, but no, it's nice. And I don't know, it just feels good. I like the way white gold feels.
Can't blame me for that.
Yeah. All right, so moving along. We had some auctions this week.
We did, Phillips.
We did. We had Phillips and Sotheby's. Some pretty cool results. So let's actually start with Sotheby's. There were some interesting pieces. There was one I wanted to touch on really quickly. The Audemars Piguet Grand Scenario, limited edition platinum minute repeater. What I thought was interesting about this, typically what we've seen in some of the last few auctions, it's all Royal Oaks offshores.
Yep.
But here comes something a little more obscure, something a little more Patek-ish.
Yeah, pop it up on the screen. Let's see it.
Oh, let's see.
It's platinum?
It's platinum. And so it was estimated to have sold for max $80,000.
Yeah, I mean,
and fetched almost
we all know that's a lie.
$240K.
Yeah. No, that's nice.
It's beautiful.
And not what you expect when you see an AP in an auction, like you said.
Definitely not what you expect for AP at auction. Really understated, beautiful case. You know, you got a sub-seconds dial at the 6 o'clock. Going back and forth between Roman and kind of just stick indices.
Oh wait, yeah. Was that the date is in Roman?
Is that the date?
Or is that the month? I think that's the month.
The month?
Yeah, maybe.
No.
What's at 9 o'clock?
That's just the 12th.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I thought that was another window.
No.
Oh, there's no date on it.
But that's a cool piece. Not something you would typically see at Sotheby's auction. There was a couple of other pieces too.
That Vianney halter next to the AP though.
Fire. Yeah, so this was a piece. Yeah, this was a piece that made that was in the catalog, and kind of we saw a lot of images of this on social media. Mm-hmm. This thing fetched a $277K.
That's probably to be expected.
Yeah, I mean on the high end they were expecting 300.
Yeah, I mean people love Vianney, but to be fair, this is a very niche looking watch.
I don't really know a whole lot about this piece. What do you know about this brand?
About Vianney?
Yeah.
I mean, Vianney halter is one of the best movement manufacturers there is. Guy touched almost every single movement. Has been in every single watch.
The aesthetic on this piece is crazy.
That's definitely one of his wilder pieces. Also one of his first. I think
it's
that's
like
that's the cult following to it.
Like those old like bronze scuba suits.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah,
like a dive bell almost.
Almost, yeah. You got you got different dials. You can't even call them sub dials because they're just separate.
Yeah, just separate dials.
One is days of the week. One is obviously your
hours and minutes.
Your hours and minutes, and then the other one looks like month.
Zoom in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a perpetual, so yeah, it's a month and a leap year.
And I guess this is the date.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. That
would bang if it was a pocket watch.
It would. They also had the 3970 EP10.
Yeah. We've seen a couple of those.
We've seen a couple of those. We actually saw one in person at Sotheby's before that.
Yeah, the steel one.
This one went up for about $190. I thought this was also interesting. The Patek Tiffany stamped pocket watch. Estimated to go between 6 and 9, went for $25,000.
The 5016 next to it is good too.
Went for $700,000. This thing was crazy. $693. There was another one that I wanted to touch on. So there was a couple of Paul Newman pieces too, right? So Stan Barrett had some pieces in this auction. Stan Barrett was a personal friend of Paul Newman. Stan Barrett broke the land barrier. The land speed record. And Paul Newman was his friend. Actually, I think helped get sponsorship
Rolex?
for this. Yeah, when it happened. Not by Rolex. It was sponsorship from, it was a beverage company. I want to say it was Budweiser, perhaps.
Probably.
So what's interesting is so he had 3 watches here. 2 were gifted to him by Paul Newman. 1 was gifted to him by the CEO of Anheuser-Busch.
Okay.
2 GMTs, 1 Daytona. He had a yellow gold GMT, root beer, which was fire.
Is that a tiger's dial, like a nipple dial?
It is a nipple dial. Yeah, it's not a tiger's eye.
On the Jubilee too.
On Jubilee. This thing is fire.
Yeah, I'll take it.
So this one was gifted to him by the CEO of Anheuser-Busch.
You see the clasp? What is different about that clasp? If you could
it's
call
a day clasp.
Yeah.
Now I know.
That bangs.
It's pretty tight. On a Jew bracelet, this thing is fire. And I think it's inscribed in the back.
Yeah.
It says, Stan Barrett, driver, Budweiser rocket car. That's fire. 739,000 miles per hour. December 17th, 1970.
739.66 miles per hour, yeah.
That's crazy.
1979?
1979.
What's today's date? Oh, it's the 12th.
Yeah.
Almost the anniversary of that.
Almost. Then there was a Pepsi GMT. This was gifted to him by Paul Newman. This thing is mint.
Yeah, because you had a Daytona and a yellow gold
also
GMT.
Inscribed. So this one was interesting because I think
that photo was fire.
The photo is crazy. Picture of Stan Barrett wearing this and the Daytona that he was gifted. This one, I believe, this one was a gift from Paul Newman, but I think this one was purchased for him. And again, has his name inscribed in the back. This was for the same thing for December 17th, 1979. So this was Paul acknowledging.
Yeah, and this inscription says Mach 1.
Yep, crazy. And then there was the final piece, which was a Daytona. Mm-hmm. Now, this one was gifted to him right off of Paul Newman's wrist.
This guy just loves giving away Daytonas.
Yeah. Full kit, too.
I know.
Everything. Box, papers, rag. Got a little photo of him
2 bracelets with it?
Crazy. I mean, these guys are rock stars.
How much did that one go for?
This thing did all right. The Daytona fetched about $378,000. $81,000 for the Pepsi.
What was the estimate? The high estimate, 5?
For the Daytona, $500,000. Shout out to Rich.
The lemon.
You got the lemon Paul Newman Daytona.
That's the real banger.
This is the banger, coming in at $819,000.
I've seen 2 of those in my whole life.
I've never seen one in person.
They're hot.
This thing's crazy. This thing is crazy. There were some other bangers. Let's see. They had a crash. Yellow gold crash. Here we go. Lot 56. I think this is it's from like one of the Paris salons.
Is that a modern one? Let's say 91.
Yeah. This thing is crazy. $226,000.
You went over the high estimate.
Way over. Estimate was max 180.
That should be expected now for the crash, though.
So there was one that went much less at Phillips, though.
No, I think the Phillips one went for more.
Did it?
Yeah, I think that one went for 400.
No.
Yeah.
We got to check that out.
You have it pulled up?
I can pull it up. But
yeah, I'm pretty sure the Phillips one went for more.
Shout out to Sotheby's. Wait, there was one more. This one was crazy, actually. So there was a 8171 Rolex. Let me see if we can find this real quick.
Blanc Pond for $40,000.
Crazy.
How much did that Wings of Hope go for?
Wings of Hope? 2.2K. Shout out to VJ.
That's the steel one. The gold one went for 10.
Yeah. There was another piece here that went crazy.
Tigers
the
151
Tiger for 150.
Double sealed APs.
Crazy. Lots of paddock action. Which number was this? It was a Rolex 8171 Paddle 1, 1952. Let me see.
Is that the calendar?
Mm-hmm. I must have passed it. Let me see. Well, we'll pull it up. But either way, the estimate was for $200K.
Went for 5?
Far exceeded that. Went for $500,000. So big shout out to our people at Sotheby's. Successful auction. Let's go on to Phillips. As you can see with Phillips, we're starting with FD
right
Journe.
off the bat, a Journe Elegante, a titanium.
Sold for
Journe
$42,000.
It retails for $15,000. Let's not forget that.
That's crazy.
Sold for $42,000 flat.
$42,000.
And that's before premiums and buyer fees.
Yep, $42,000.
Another crazy one. If you go back to the Phillips, there's a Patek 5164 sold for $48,000.
Crazy.
Retail's only $40,000. Very strange. Yeah. It is an old one though. It's from 2013. So
you're right. So here's the this one went for $360,000.
Yeah, the Phillips one. Yeah, it was probably older.
Crash.
I think that one's from the 70s.
Yeah.
Another Journe for $210,000.
Journe for $210,000.
The Kari boot lining for $150,000.
Calatrava $190,000.
No, shout out to Eric. Eric would love hearing that. He loves Kari. How much did that Mad one go for? $9,500. Retail was $3,000.
Respectable. You know who had a piece in this auction? Mr. Wonderful.
Oh yeah, he has Daytona.
His Daytona was
for like 60 grand. It sold for 60 grand.
Yeah,
on the red
his Daytona
strap.
was in this. Let's see if we can pull that up.
Gotta love charity.
Shout out to Mr. Wonderful.
Come on the show, please, Kevin O'Leary.
There it is. $65,000. Crazy.
I don't have much.
On the red strap.
I don't have much more to say about that. It's a steel Daytona for 60
A lot of guys
grand.
are going to go strap on with their Daytona after this. Another one that was crazy, which we just passed. Let me see if I pull it up. There was a Journe that went for $1 million.
Did we pass it already?
Here it is.
Well, yeah.
Circa 1999. Rare platinum tourbillon.
Yeah, it's just tourbillon.
This thing is fire. Estimate was max $600K.
Went for $1 million.
$1 million. Shout out to Phillips. What else do we have? Very rare Patek pocket watch, $180,000.
Is that a perpetual? Yeah.
Perpetual calendar. Estimate was $50,000. Why are these estimates so way off?
They're always like that though.
It's crazy.
It's for charity. You have to be a little
respect.
What's that Starwheel?
So this one was crazy to me, which I feel like prior to the new Starwheel coming out, this probably would have went under the radar.
It's a $20K watch all day.
Yeah.
Before the new one got announced.
And it's hot.
Yeah, it's hot.
I love it.
Is it platinum?
This is platinum.
That's one of the rare ones. So there's actually pretty crazy Starwheels out there where they have, you see that the bottom half of it?
Yeah.
How it's like that guilloche pattern?
Yeah.
They have some that are fully engraved and those go really crazy.
That's wild. This thing is fire.
I can't wait to see the Starwheel Royal Oak that comes out next year.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Royal Oaks, they had one of the first blue ceramics.
Yeah, they did. We saw that when we saw the preview. 350?
Yep, 350.
What's the retail on that? Do you remember? Estimate on request. That's strange.
Yeah, I know. That was wild.
Specially engraved rotor featuring the Eiffel Tower. A
little odd.
Yeah, whoever got that watch clearly does not give a fuck about their future allegations.
But I was really actually surprised to see this so soon. This watch literally
I'm not
just
surprised to see it so soon, considering that we know people that are posting on Instagram, they have them for sale. Right?
It's insane.
So I wouldn't expect it. I'm not surprised it's at auction already. I'm surprised that it's a special rotor.
Yeah. Grand Seiko had
the
a
lot,
too.
Yeah. The three green dots they came out with earlier this year.
That was crazy.
28 grand.
28 grand for the lot. It's not a bad deal.
No, well, I mean, if you bought them all three individually, it'd be like 15.
Yeah.
They only made 140 of them though, and they sold out in a snap.
It's crazy. Grand Seiko had a big presence at this Phillips auction actually.
Where's that Kodo?
The turquoise Whirlpool was here.
17,000. That's double retail.
Yeah,
that's good.
Some vintage Grand Seiko pieces.
We have 10, 11, 19, and 24.
Grand
and those
Seiko
are all steel
numbers. And then you got the Kodo.
380.
Respect. And this was like a super limited edition piece unique version.
Yeah, that's one that they made just for the auction.
Yeah. 380.
The standard Kodo retails for 310 if I'm not mistaken.
Snoopy snuck in there. That's 27,000.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. All for a good cause. We got another Elegante, 49,000.
Woo, Titanite too.
Crazy.
That's the one I'm going after. Go up. What's next to it? There was another joint. A CS blue and a red strap for 60. That's crazy.
Some heaters.
It's a little weak though. They were selling for like 80 to 100. Eric Wynn sold one for 80 on his website. That Urwerk is the real star of the show. So
that's what I wanted to get to next.
That's the star of the show.
So the Urwerk was wild. So this is like it's a piece unique, but it's like a repro of an older model that they did.
Yep.
But they did it with this artist. His name is Cooper Jacoby. And what's crazy about this piece is that like the dial, so it's kind of like a jump hour.
Yep.
Right? But it also like it turns on a minute track. But as it turns, it it feels like your body temperature in addition to the temperature around it, and it changes color.
Yeah. Timepiece said it best. It's a mood watch.
It is a mood watch. That's wild.
Starts off blue, can end up green, purple, whatever mood you're in.
So this was estimated to fetch at max $80,000.
Yep.
This thing sold for $320 before the buyer's premium.
Worth it.
Wild.
Worth it.
I mean, if you know, you know.
There's a theme. There's like a pattern here too. You see a lot of the bigger brands are kind of like either consistent or right around where it's supposed to be, estimate at. You see all the crazy indies.
Yeah.
Obviously, this being an example, Jorn being the other.
Yeah.
Well over their estimates.
What do you think that's about?
I think people are just tired of seeing the same shit.
They're tired of seeing the same thing at auction.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
When you can get really cool, unique things like this. And obviously, we know what's happened in the watch community the last 3 years or so. People are just more hip to that there's more out there than just the big brands.
It kind of makes me more hopeful for what we're going to see for next year, too.
Yeah.
Just with all this energy and ending the year like this. So in addition to that, this was part of an initiative to support the Swiss Institute. And so this was part of that collection, but it had a number of watches themed Time for Art.
Mm-hmm. This is one of them, right?
This is one of them. And so this was all of these pieces sold went to benefit the Swiss Institute. So that was crazy. And then I think Phillips also just celebrated. They literally sold every watch this year at auction.
Yeah. Patek 5180.
Crazy.
A pocket watch is crazy.
That Arnold & Son.
Yeah, that was a Time for Art watch too. Yeah. And actually, all of those right there are Time for Art.
Yeah.
That Anderson de Genève, that photo does it no justice. In person, that dial is crazy.
Yeah,
and nice. The Chopard. Those photos do no justice.
Even the rotor on the back.
Mm-hmm. I like that they have like that purple going around it too.
45,000.
Again, overestimate.
That thing is crazy. Another Jorn.
The Line Sport.
Yep.
For 50.
It's a heater. Shout out to the Indies getting love at Phillips.
This is the watch that I wore during our
I remember.
House
Yeah.
It just didn't have the yellow dial.
House. That was crazy. Major props to Phillips. This was an incredible auction. We had some friends that were there. We got to go that evening for the preview and check out some of the timepieces. Shout out to Paul Lerner and Isabella over at Phillips. Much appreciated. We had a ball. Always a lot of fun. But kudos to you guys. This was awesome. Great way to end the year. Something else I wanted to talk about with you tonight. So there's been some other news in the watch world that's shaking people up a bit, and everyone's trying to get a sense of what this means.
Does it involve the word Rolex?
It does, as a matter of fact. So Rolex is launching their certified pre-owned program. And this is interesting. So I think obviously we have some inside information on what it really means. But I remember when the news finally broke, and we heard about it maybe just a couple of days before. But we also sort of knew this was coming. There were rumors about this for a while that they were about to venture into.
I had friends contacting me saying like, Rolex has to do it eventually. Yeah, because a lot of brands take control of their own pre-owned to some degree, especially the smaller brands. You can go on Urwerk's website and they will buy their watch back from you and sell it on their own site.
Yeah. So what a lot of people, some of the stuff that I was getting back from people was, how is Rolex going to manage getting into the pre-owned business? And from what I gather, that's not really what they're going into. They're coming across more so as like it feels like they're like regulating it. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of a mafioso move.
It's Rolex though. They can kind of do that. And no one's going to tell them not to.
You can't. What I will say though is, so basically let's break this down first, right? So essentially they're rolling this out in the EU first, I think with Bucharest. Yeah. And the way it works is an authorized dealer will purchase a watch from someone who wants to offload a watch. Yeah. And then they will send it into Rolex for certification. Rolex, then I imagine, services the watch.
Yeah, they'd have to service it, give it the seal of approval, and then they send it back to whatever AD or wherever they sell it to.
And so in the servicing, they're checking to see if like all the parts are, authentic.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, I don't really know if they're checking to see if everything is period correct. I would imagine so. And then basically telling the AD whether or not that this watch meets the Rolex.
You know what I didn't think about until you just said the word period correct? I wonder if, let's say you send them the watch, it's a real watch, so they service it, they intake it, whatever. And then to get it to spec, they change original parts.
So this is something, I'm glad you brought that up, because this is something that I've heard a lot of vintage collectors
we don't like
express concern about. Is there are some people right now that are communicating that they are concerned that Rolex will bring their watches up to factory standard.
Which means removing original parts.
You're moving original parts. You might be changing
crystals, bezel inserts, anything,
all of dials. And I think that that's an honest concern, right? Because, Rolex.
But that changes the value of the watch.
And so
dramatically.
It does. So there's this weird space in all of this where it's like you could debate, like Rolex is not incentivized they're not valuing their watches on it being having all the original parts or dials, however faulty they might consider it, right? Like, so if someone has like what we call like a tropical dial, that might be well sought after in the community.
But to Rolex, it's a defect.
It's a defect.
Those magenta GMTs, that's a factory defect.
Yeah.
You send that to Rolex, you ain't getting that bezel back. You ain't getting that insert back.
And so I'm curious what this means for vintage collectors. Because we know also now that like Rolex won't service things that are
50 years old,
50 years old, right? They're not even going to look at it. And so I'm curious, on one hand, it's like they're taking control of their product in the secondary market, which I love. I think this is a great move for consumers that want to get into Rolex and have had a hard time finding Rolexes, right? This should, to some degree, mitigate
It should make it easier
prices
for a consumer.
It should.
Mitigate, but also make most people feel comfortable.
Yeah, now you have a level of assurance, right? You know that the product is real, certified by them. You get an additional 2-year warranty on the watch, which is incredible, right? And so, for a small premium, you can have the watch that you want and, be rest assured that everything is
how it should be.
Is how it should be, and it's up to snuff. Now, I'm curious what this means for the vintage market, because we know a lot of guys who collect like vintage Rolex. And they're not into modern pieces. It almost seems like this could cause kind of like a swap where the secondary market now focuses all their energy on vintage Rolexes.
Things that aren't certified pre-owned.
Well, because Rolex would, in theory, possibly be refusing to certify.
Right. And this also fuels a whole different market too, because you go to 47th Street, all those guys have green hang tags.
Facts.
Who's to say they're not going to have white hang tags?
I think that's coming too.
So it can give the consumer security depending on where they're buying it from.
Yeah.
But it's just going to start a whole nother like rigmarole of things with the secondary market.
I can see that happen. And I think, I think kudos to Rolex for getting into this. It's a great move, I think, for them. It's a great move for consumers. It's going to work out for 80s in the long run. But I think the lesson still learned is don't get your watches on the secondary market. Just go and deal with authorized dealers.
Yep.
And maybe now it's easier.
Or with the dealer you actually know and trust.
Absolutely.
We know there's plenty of people out there. Like, obviously, Get Bezel's been doing it. They authenticate the watches themselves.
Absolutely.
You can rock with anybody there. Eric Wind.
Shout out to Eric.
Foundwell.
Yep.
These are all guys that we love and trust and respect.
Yeah.
And they're legit when it comes to this kind of stuff. They're not authorized dealers, so they'll never be able to probably have access to those tags unless they buy one off someone. But those are people who are respected and they have a reputation.
Because
do not go to 47th Street.
No, don't go to 47th Street. But I think that this move is actually going to be incredible for those guys too, right?
Yeah,
like when I think about those guys who are already dealing in vintage and kind of serve as, maybe unofficial experts. I think this might be huge for their business. Not that they'll be selling pre-owned, but they'll be selling all of the stuff that potentially Rolex might not want to look at.
And maybe even more of a premium on that stuff.
I think so.
It might be even more in demand now.
I think so. I think
like we could have a whole episode on how much I hate the Submariner, but I would love a 1680 all day.
Facts.
Most 1680s have ghost bezels and shitty dials. Nice. But I want one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get one certified
There's something about, we talked about this before, like when I got the opportunity to wear John's Daytona, but there's something about like a vintage oyster case, those cases, those proportions. That's just like, I don't know. I find vintage Rolexes like incredibly romantic. There's just something about them. They tick every box.
Yeah, and it's because back then a Rolex isn't what it is now. A Rolex back then was like a tool watch. If someone had a Rolex back then, although they were relatively expensive for the time, they saved some money to get that.
They did.
And that's why it was such like a status and was like, I worked my ass off for this. I'm going to wear it every single day because it's going to serve its job. And it's the only watch I'm probably ever going to have.
Facts.
So you get that little special feeling in the vintage Rolex too.
You do.
Now we're lucky, we're fortunate we're able to have them for ourselves, but we toss them around because the Rolex is what it's for.
That's what it's for. But not a lot of guys, for a lot of guys, it's my precious.
Exactly. And
it's going to be interesting, man. I'm curious to see where this goes. But ultimately it's a good move for consumers. I got a lot of friends who are really excited about it, and just being someone who appreciates and loves vintage Rolexes. I feel like this could be a pathway for those pieces to kind of get the respect that they deserve. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some pieces that maybe weren't as sought after before kind of skyrocket now.
Old Air Kings?
I'm saying.
Oyster Perpetuals?
Yeah. All that stuff is going to bang now because they won't even take a look at it. So it's like just to have something from their catalog that's that old with, original parts, pieces that, still factory, like when it left Rolex back then, I think is gonna mean a whole lot more. So
imagine you sending the Domino's Air King and they swap the dial on you.
Woo! I hate
you
to
better
see
give
it.
me that back. Better give me that dial back. Papa John. Your Papa John Rolex.
Speaking of of this, there is a piece I did want to talk about. We touched on it a little bit during the auction, but there was a new watch release from AP about a week ago. The Starwheel.
Starwheel Code 11.
Code 11.
A lot more people will start buying Code 11.
I'm saying though, I thought it was a smart move.
I think so too.
I think it was brilliant.
I think so too. And I think it was crazy too because when AP did that competition for design your own Royal Oak and a winner will get put into production, there was a Royal Oak Starwheel on there.
There was.
And that was my winner. Wow. And they probably didn't pick it because they're already making it.
They already did. But kudos to them because it's funny. I heard someone right before they launched this watch, and I remember we got an invite. They had a big event down in Miami. With Ben Clymer and John Mayer to launch this watch. We couldn't go. I was down with the COVID and you guys were holding down the fort. But I did get to see some photos and shout out to Paul for sending us some exclusive behind the scenes images. But I remember shortly before that, I was talking to someone about AP because we were talking about, I think Jay-Z's birthday was coming up. We were talking about Jay-Z's impact on AP. And someone said, "You mean the Royal Oak Company?" And I thought that was so funny.
It ain't wrong though.
They're not wrong.
Not wrong.
They're not wrong. But then to see this piece, it was kind of like a good aha. Like I thought like really, really smart on their behalf. I even liked the branding. Like there was something about it that seemed like it was like kind of Japanese anime, kind of 90s. It was cool.
It seemed retro.
It was super retro.
They had to with a name like Starwheel though.
Yeah, no, I know. It kind of reminded me, I just kept thinking of like Jamiroquai for some reason.
Okay.
Is that too old of a reference for you?
I get it.
Okay.
I don't understand. I don't know the reference. I don't understand it though. I'm in that weird little limbo gray area space.
I'm showing my age.
I want to see them bust out the millinery again.
So you sent me an image of that today.
They still make them, but they don't do anything with it. They kind of just sit there, stay under the radar. It's like, who cares?
But a millinery Starwheel?
I don't even want a millinery Starwheel.
Okay.
I just want some crazy millineries.
You know who had a crazy millinery? Praz.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What was it?
There was an old Talking Watches episode with him and Ben Clymer. Maybe not Ben Clymer, but it was on Hodinkee. And I remember seeing this, and I was just like, the hell is Praz doing on Hodinkee?
Well, I think Rashawn's friend JJ got this crazy millinery with like a hammered dial.
Yeah.
That they did two of them. It was like a burgundy and a blue. I think he got the burgundy one.
Praz has like a crazy one with like I think it has like a tourbillon in the center.
Okay.
And apparently he's actually like a big AP collector. That's what's interesting about that period too.
There's a skeletonized millinery that also slaps.
I've seen that. The interesting thing about AP, and it's just bringing me back to the conversation I was having too, is shout out to Francois for like kind of embracing hip hop early on. Mm-hmm. Like the stuff that he did
with Jay.
Not even like definitely with Jay.
He gave that man his own watch.
Crazy.
Designed 3 of them.
Crazy. But apparently like had a relationship with Praz from the Fugees, which seems like totally random. Praz has like crazy APs in his collection, like wild stuff. And then I know he had done some stuff, you know, the Black Panther piece came about by his relationship with Don Cheadle.
Yeah, I knew that.
Which is interesting. But I was reading this story about him and Jay, and they actually became friends in like 1997. So they met like shortly after Jay released his first album. Sorry?
After Blueprint, right?
No, this is like after Reasonable Doubt.
Oh, okay.
This is 1997. Would not have expected that. Yeah. But this was like before Francois was, this was before he was CEO. He was like a rep. And apparently he meets Jay, and he sees like a date on his wrist. And
he was like, take that shit off.
He was like, you like watches? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yo, come see me at HQ. And he takes him to their office, and he just shows them like wild APs and shit.
He just started buying everything.
And from then they were like locked in.
Yeah.
And he became like the consummate like AP collector, and really helped like push this brand forward in the US market.
Well, when he did his collab, they gave you an iPod in the AP box,
which was crazy.
All his albums on it.
Wild.
Like what?
Wild. Shout out to Jay-Z. Happy birthday. That is the guy that we need to get on the show.
Cough up a lung where I'm from.
Marcy, son. Respect.
Facts.
I guess that just about does it for us this episode. Yep. This is a shorter one. We're missing our cohort. But you know where to find us. We're on Spotify, Rich Check Podcast.
With video
and audio. YouTube, you can find us at Rich Check Podcast. Instagram at Rich Check Podcast. TikTok for all the children. Apple Podcasts. And we'll see you next week.
Website coming soon.
The website's actually launched.
Really?
It has. It's up.
What?
It's been up for like 2 weeks.
All right.
So you can go to richcheckpodcast.com. It's up. Also, we have the Patreon. More content coming soon.
Facts.
But the page is actually up. You can go there and you can sign up for our newsletter, which goes out weekly. Let you know about new episodes and special events that are happening. And we're planning some stuff for the new year. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we've been busy.
Yeah.
Super busy.
But see you next week.
Peace.
Deuces.